The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good morning, everybody. This is James Baker from Panorama. I'm a solution specialist on the solutions team here. I would like to know if everyone can hear me. So I know I'm going to get bombarded, but if one or two can just type in the chat that we can hear you, and then I'll pick up on the first one. Okay, nothing so far, so I'm hoping you can hear me. Everything seems to be working from my end. Can you see my screen and hear me? Okay, perfect. Good. It actually works out that I was the wrong one looking at the wrong place. Okay, perfect. So we'll get started. Now this is the basic analytics webinar. So we're going to go over some real basic areas of Necto, but it's what everyone needs to get started. And from there, you can go into obviously the more complex, deeper analysis areas. But what we're going to do today, we're just going to show you the first steps into Necto that every end user will be should be able to do, and they should be able to pick it up within a few hours. We're going to cover it here in less than probably 40 minutes. We're going to do probably about 30 minutes on this, and then I'll just point you in the right direction and make sure everyone can go and do the exercises that we've got. So this is Necto. If you haven't seen it before, this is the nectouk.panorama.com/panorama server. Now I'm using Safari here. I'm actually working on a Mac, so it nicely covers everything, but you can see it's got the Panorama extension there. So I apologize, I've got a little bit of allergies, so I'll sniff a little bit, but don't mind me. Okay, so this is the home screen of Necto. When you come in here, you will have your name and possibly a photograph of yourself or an emoticon, whatever you want to choose to put in. You'll have your areas of interest over here. If you want to choose topics or areas of interest, you can add them. Just add them with the little pen. So I can click on my pen, I can change my profile. So I look like a little professor. I can change anything I want, or I can upload a photo. I can add my topics of interest to here. I just click on the plus button and we can just move something over, such as retail demo. And now that's in my areas of interest. I can also add friends. If I want to bring in any other friends, same thing. I click on my plus button. If I want to get rid of some, I can delete them, or I have the option to filter them. And I can also subscribe to other people here. So I'll just say OK to those changes. And now you can see we've got retail demo as an addition to my topics. We've got friends down here, and then we've got the 5 buttons across the top. We've got recent workboards. Down here, we've got the 30 most recent workboards that we've used. I can click on any of them, and the thumbnail comes to the front, so you can see a visualization of the workboard you used. If you hover over the other thumbnails, you can see the title of them. We've got favorite workboards. Same thing. It's a bookmarking area, but it will show you your workboards in the thumbnails. We've got relevant workboards. That's when the system pushes relevant workboards towards you, going by your areas of interest, your friends, and what you're going to use. We've got discussions. The discussions, it's discussion in context. So every discussion takes place upon a workboard, and you discuss the values, the charts, whatever you want on the workboard, but within the context of that workboard. And when you come back to it, you come back to a snapshot of the workboard at the time you started the discussion. And then we've got subscriptions. The people you subscribe to, if they're creators of workboards, if they're very active, that's who you want to subscribe to. And then you'll see their new workboards as they create them and they share them with you. So what we can do here, even though I'm in my administrator mode, we're going to do nothing to do with administrators today. It's all going to be user stuff. So we'll move into the Necto work area. I apologize. Once in here, what we can do is create our first new workboard. So we go to the magic wand up here, create our workboard. We have two options. We can create a workboard with data or create a blank workboard. Now, it's not going to be much fun to create a blank workboard. So instead, let's create a workboard with data. So we just click on here, and then we have a number of options here. We can bring data in from Excel files, CSV. We can paste a table straight from the internet, or we can select an existing view. We can also bring in data from a multi-dimensional source. So we have OLAP. We can bring in a user Necto model, or we can bring in data from Power Pivot. We also have databases. So this is the out-of-the-box selection of databases. So we've got SQL Server all the way down to Postgres. Now, in basic terms, if you have an OLADB or an ODBC driver, we can connect to it. So don't worry about what's out of the box. You can pretty much connect to anything that has a driver. Also, we've got online services, so you can bring data in from your Salesforce installation as well. For the sake of this webinar, we're going to use a multi-dimensional. We're going to use the old favorite, the MS OLAP Cube. We'll double click on here. We've got my local data source here, which has already been defined. We won't cover that here, but it's been predefined. And I will connect to that local data source. And now I've got a few different options that I can use. The different databases, but I'm going to stick with AdventureWorks. My old favorite, use AdventureWorks here, and we'll go into the View Designer. So when we go into the View Designer, this organizes or shows us all the options that we have with the data that has been created for us previously within this cube. So on the excuse me, on the far left hand side, we have all the dimensions that are actually available to us. If I click on the plus sign, I get an expanded view of the hierarchies which are available in that dimension. So we've got account, account number, account type, and accounts. If you can see the different icons here, the first one, account, means that it's just sitting here, it's not being used, so it's 6 squares in a row. If it's got the 3 arrows, it actually means that it's sitting in the slices, and you can see the corresponding icon up here. And finally, if it's shown as a pyramid, it means that it's a user-defined hierarchy, not just a normal hierarchy. So it means it has multiple levels of data. Okay. Over here we have slices. So within the slices, we show the attributes, the dimensions that are actually active. So we have the measures, which always need to be active. Then we have one or more attribute from each dimension that is in here. Now, people often ask why we don't have them all. Well, if you think about this, this is a very small cube, and it has, I believe, somewhere in the region of 100 dimensions. So if we were to put 100 dimensions in here, your average user would get lost very quickly. So what we do, we bring in one dimension from each, one attribute from each of the dimensions over here. If you want, you can bring more in, but it's just the easiest way we thought of to do that. Now, everything in here, everything in the whole View Designer is drag and drop. So if I want to replace employee department with something else, I'm perfectly at ease to do that. I can just drag employee department over here, and let's say we want to bring in customer geography. Okay, so now we've got customer geography in the rows, and in the columns we've got date fiscal. Okay, so maybe what we want to do instead of that is the internet sales orders. We can actually nest these two, or I can just do something very simple, which is just put the internet sales orders here and drag out the date fiscal. Now, you can see below we have a preview of what's happening. In this case, it's not updated. If we want to update it, all we need to do is press refresh and preview. And you can see it will now show me we've got internet sales orders and customer geography. Now, I can see here that internet sales orders is not going to do much for me in this case. It's not something I want. So instead of that, yes, let's take out date fiscal. Let's pop that back in. Let's preview it here. And that's maybe something I would like to see. Now here, we're not looking at it with data. The reason we're not looking at it with data is because this is a very high level look at the data. So if we were to bring the data in, it might be an absolutely massive query, and the database, the cube, might take a long time to perform it. If we do, however, because this isn't a big query, but if we do, however, want to preview with data, we have the option if you just click on the 1-2 preview with values, and now you will be able to see the data. Okay. Now you can see that all the numbers are the same here. That means that the measures, the reseller sales amount, doesn't really have anything to do with these two numbers. Now, we can sort this out now, or we can sort this out later. What we'll do is we'll sort this out later. But what we do want to do is maybe, let's say we want to create a slicing in here. Okay, so what we're going to do, click on this down arrow and we'll slice. So once we press slice, we'll say, I'm only interested in sales. Okay, I can drill down and I can say, okay, I'm only interested in European sales, North American sales, but for this point, we'll just say sales. And now you can see here that the employee department has a slicing and it shows sales. Again, if we want to refresh, we can just say, okay, now we've got, now we've changed what we want, but you can see the data's gone away. So we'll just show the data again if we wish, and really nothing changed. I'm just creating a slicing, just to show you how it's done. We can also do it in here. We can also say, you know what, I'd like to do something with customer geography. I'd like to show the state province as soon as we begin, or I'd like to show it, I'd like the layout to be a tree level layout, or maybe I just want to select some members. So let's go ahead and select a couple of members here. Like for instance, we'll select the US, and we'll select Germany and the United Kingdom. And I'll push those over here, and now we can see them. So if I press OK, and I'll press refresh, and now you can see we've got a subset of the data. So I think I've explained that. Again, any questions, you can always send them to me. You can put them in chat. We will answer them. My name, by the way, as I said before, is James Baker, jbaker@panorama.com for any questions. So now I'll save this. I'll save that here. And what we can do with the save area, we can save the workboard layout. We can just do a grid or a chart, and various other options along to the most complex one, which is your chart, grid, and an actual mapping component. So we're going to see what we can get here. We'll try for the most complex, and we'll show the slices, and we'll show, we won't show the automatic insights. I'll let that happen in a few minutes. We'll save this as part of my private area, and I'll say AdventureWorks James. So I'll click on finish. And now we're saving the workboard. So what happened here is you can see we've got the United States on the map already. And maybe somewhere else we might be able to see that we have, let me try and pull this out a little bit, and I hope this doesn't affect the way that it's looking on your screens, but we have the United States, we have United Kingdom, and Germany over here. Now the data isn't much good, but that really doesn't matter to me right now. Okay, but you can see we have a chart up here which is linked directly to the grid down here, and as we specified when we created the workboard, our slices are shown down the side, and as you can see, the employee department sales that we chose previous slicing upon is still valid. If I click on here, then you can see that's how we show selections. Okay, now I'm going to save this just because I like to double save everything. It's always better to save something twice in any software tool. So what can I do from here? Well, the first thing I want to do now is I'll hide my slicing so I get more real estate. Then I'm going to take myself out of design mode just to show you the difference. Now I'm out of design mode. So this is my presentation layer. Okay, so everyone can see this. Every user that I'm sharing this with, or that I may share this with, can see this workboard that I've designed. If I go back into design mode, literally the only real differences are that I can drag components here down here to hide them, and I have new components that I can add along the side over here. So what does that mean to me? For instance, I can add another view component. Now a view component is just going to be like this one over here. So I don't need to add that right now. I can add a navigation component. It might be interesting to add a navigation component. So let's do that. So if I drag this on to the side here, I'm going to choose where I want to put it. I could put it to the side here. I can put it below the map over here, or I can even fully replace the map. And of course, I've got the same options over here. I can halve this screen. I can use the full bottom of the screen down here. So I'm just going to actually halve the map. Now, with my parameters, I'm going to add a dimension member parameter. And we're going to use the reseller sales amount by date fiscal. That's because it's the only one that exists. It's the only view, which is this one over here, that exists. We're going to base it upon, let's say, our customer geography. So we're going to use something that's already in the axes. We are going to show all members, and we're going to use a single selection type in this case, and we can say that our initial selection will be, let's say, United Kingdom. Okay, and that's it. We just need to say okay, and now you'll be able to see all of a sudden we've got United Kingdom down here, United Kingdom in the grid, the chart, and of course we can see that we've got a really strange looking United Kingdom blob on the map, but it's just the way that we're highlighting the United Kingdom over here. If I hover over different areas on the map, you can see that fiscal year 2004 and 2003, we've got data there for them both. We've got United Kingdom over here. We can actually do different things on the map, so extend to the state, the province, the city, the customer, the postal code. We can select visible entities, if there were more than one. You can do a number of different things there. So what I'm going to do here, I'm actually going to focus on all three dates. So all I do, I start by clicking and then dragging, and now you'll see that there's the three columns over here, 2002 to 2004, and if I hover over the United Kingdom, you can see that all my fiscal dates are mentioned. Okay. Now we can resize any of these. So let's say we don't think we have enough room for the map. All we need to do is get between the two components, then just drag down. We can add or remove that customer geography title by just clicking on here and saying, no, we don't want the title. And now that's gone. If we have multiple navigation controls, we can actually reorder them. We can do a number of things with that. Okay. Now, what we might want to do over here, we're looking at fiscal year 2002 right now. What we might want to do is actually drill down into this a little bit more. So let's hit the plus button. So we're going to find the half. So obviously it's the last 6 months, the first half of 2002 to the second half of 2002. And if we want to drill back up, all we need to do is press minus, and then we're going back up again. Now, we have options to, instead of clicking on the plus, we can use the expand to. Down here we can see the semester, the quarter, the month, the date. So if I want to go down to the quarter, let's go down to the quarter. As you can see, because I was using only 1 year, it's going to go right down to that quarter. If I want to do it on the same level for all dates, I'll do it from the top level. So in this case, I'm going to say, show me the quarters for all of the dates. And now you can see each date is down to the quarter level. By the way, if you want to get rid of anything you've done, you have this undo and redo arrow. So you just undo the last option, and I'll undo that one again. And then we're back to the start here. Okay. So we've got a good amount of time left. Now, what else can I do over here? So let's start from the top. So we can replace items. So if we want to get rid of date fiscal, we can say instead, let's bring in source currency. Okay, so we've got source currency over here now. We've got Australian dollars, Canadian dollars, euros, United Kingdom pounds, and US dollar. So we can see different values that have something to do, that are the values for the reseller sales amount, which is up here in the slicing. This is the actual value. So what you have here are members. So the members are all these items here and this item here. And then you've got the values themselves, which are related to the reseller sales amount, just for clarity. If I want to back this up, I can obviously, like I said, undo, and then we're back to the date fiscal. Now, I can also add before or add after. This is called nesting. Okay, so if I want to add employee department before, then all I do is that. And you can see employee department. And as we saw previously, I actually only put sales in the employee department. So that's all that came in. So we'd already sliced. So we're bringing in the sales department. And now we can drill down on that if we want. And this is going to be European sales, North American sales, Pacific, and sales representatives in general. Okay. Again, I'll back it up. And by the way, just so that you can notice, everything that's done in the grid here is reflected on the chart. So you can see here sales fiscal year 2002, sales fiscal year 2003, and so on and so forth. If I drill down, you're going to see that it's probably better here. The sales representative for fiscal year 2002 for the United Kingdom. This is the correct. This is a correct column over here. Now, if it gets to this point where things are quite small and you want to see more detail, all you need to do is actually maximize this view. And now you can see more detail over here. Now this is something that your users might want to do, but it's not necessarily. So all I need to do is normalize this again, and we're back to here. They could also do something like this. They can save it to PDF. They can save it to Excel. They can copy the actual grid to the clipboard, or they can save it as an image. Whatever they'd like to do, they have options to actually bring the data and the visualization outside of Necto. So let's go a little bit back again, and we'll take off the sales over here. The other thing, of course, I've already shown you is the show, but we can do layout. We can do different layouts. Now, on the x-axis, you can show standard layouts, standard with parents, and flat. On the y-axis, you have one more option. You can do a tree layout. Okay, now it won't work very well here, so let's rotate the axis. Okay, so by rotating the axis, all we're doing is moving date fiscal to the y-axis and the customer to the x-axis, like so. Okay, now the map will complain because it always wants the geography to be on the y-axis, but we'll ignore that for now. What I wanted to show you is this. So if I open 2002 to a small depth, and then show a different sets of layouts. So we're going to have standard with parents. So you can see here we've got suddenly all periods. So this is the total for everything. We've got 2002, which is the total for these guys, and then the half, which is the total for these two. We can also do the tree representation. Now it just kind of indents everything, and this is the item that's not available on the x-axis. For obvious reasons, the indentation would kind of be a moot point. And finally, we've got the flat layout, which basically just takes all the expanding members and shows them at their current level. So we have 2003, 2004, which we had anyway. We've got the half, and then the two expanding members below that. Okay. As you can see right now, we're only showing the two from the lowest level because they're the two that make sense in comparison to each other. We actually can't show all of the items at once because they're from different hierarchical levels, and there's just no reasonable use for them to be shown at once. So we'll move our layout back to standard, and now you can see it as it was. There's other options. We can bring in grand totals, and we can bring in subtotals. So what's the difference between these two? Because they're exactly the same as far as I can see. So let's do this. Let's take Q1 and we'll hide this guy. So we're going to hide him. And now you can see that the subtotal is showing the visual members. The grand total still shows everything on that side tab. So that's really the difference between the subtotal and the grand total. So all we did was we hid the member. We chose to hide that member. Now all I can do is I'll show the hidden members. I choose which one I want to show if there were multiple. We say OK, and now it's back, and the grand and subtotal are the same. We also have the option to show the totals below, which means these guys would sit at the bottom of the grid. Okay. Now, we can also show member properties. If you have in your cube member properties defined, we can show those, but that's a little bit more advanced, so I'm not going to cover that today. We can also show select members we want to show. So let's just choose 2003 and 2002, and we'll allow drill down on selected members. Okay, if I don't click on this, we don't have any option to drill through. We don't have any option to drill down here. And you can see just as above, we've got the filtering option. We've got the filter shown here. If I click on it, we get rid of the filtering. So I'll go back and I'll select members again. We can show 2002 and let's do 2003, 2002, and we'll click on the allow drill down. And now you can see we have the ability to drill just as we did before. So that's covered the major drop down there. Oops, sorry. From here, we have very similar items. We can sort by that, but it's not very good to sort right now. We have the ability to hide, which I've already shown you. We have the ability to show value filters and formulas. So let me go back to here. What I'm going to do is we will show our fiscal quarters, and we will go to the United Kingdom, and we'll sort by we'll actually sort by here. We'll undo that. Let's sort instead, as I was going to do in the first place, by United Kingdom. And now you can see all the values are sorted from the bottom to the top. So we've got 8 million at the top down to 3 million. Okay, so that's very simple. We can sort, we can remove sort. Okay, there you go, it's gone. If we want to add a value filter, maybe we just want to put the top 10 or the bottom 10. Okay, so we can put the top 10. It's going to be the same thing. There's no option. There's less than 10 there, so it's always going to show you. So I'll get rid of that, and now we'll expand this again. Now what we'll do is choose the value filter, and we'll say filter instead. So we get all the options now. So instead we just want to do the top count. We have bottom count, top percentage, lots of different things. We'll just say, you know what, I just want the top 3. We'll say okay, and now we just get the top 3 items. Okay, so that's a lot more, that's a lot better. So the final one that I'm going to show you is that we've got formulas. Okay, now I'll show you it on the y-axis. The reason I want to show it on the y-axis is because we only have one member here. On the y-axis, I can say I have formulas, I have sum, aggregate, average, rank. If I choose another one, then my formulas suddenly expand. I've got 6 formulas now, so I can do average, correlation, difference, growth. Now let's just do sum. So we're going to do sum of Q1 and Q2. No real restrictions on the naming. Let's see here. Oh, and because I have the restriction here, let me show you. Select members. Where did I create it? You know what? I've lost my own creation. That's embarrassing. Sorry about that. Let me go back to, apologize. Let me go back to creating a formula. And we'll go to sum again, and we'll say 2002 and 2003. Okay. Oh, you know why. There we go. I was still filtering by the top 2. There's our formula. So we have the $64,000 question. So the reason that my formula wasn't showing up was because I was filtering, and that doesn't enter into the filter because it's not of this level. Okay, so there's a really good answer sometimes why your formulas don't show up, because you've got to check on your other axis to make sure other things are not affecting where your formulas will and will not show. Okay, we've done a lot today. We probably haven't covered as much as I'd like, but we've managed to cover quite a bit. I'm going to save what I've done, and then, so that's saved now. We can do something quickly with the chart up here. So I'll show you that the chart can actually be, we can show this view component in one of three areas. We can show the grid and chart, only the chart, or only the grid. So if you want to show only the grid, you just press this. If you want to show only the chart, you'll just press this, and then the final option like this. If you want to alter what's showing, how the chart is showing, you can use the different options here. You can rotate the chart by itself. So we rotated this earlier, having the date fiscal on the side and the customer geography on the top. Now we've rotated the chart independently of that. Okay. What we can also do is say, you know what? Actually, this is not a good example. Let's do this. We'll show these different guys. So maybe I'm going to show it as a line chart instead. So now we've got the option here. What I might like to do is get rid of the filtering there. We'll show all of these. And everything's on top of one. So maybe what I can do is put Australia on my second axis, and we'll put that as a bar chart instead. So now we've got two options in one. We've got Australia on my second axis, and all of the others are exactly the same data. So unfortunately, they're showing multiple items here, but we've just got one that's separated out, which is Australia. Okay. Now I know I haven't got long left, so I'm going to encourage you guys to do the following. So I'm going to show my main screen, and I'm going to encourage you guys to use the Necto 15 creating new workboards and the Necto 15 Necto Analytics View Component Basics in the nectouk.panorama server, so that you all have access. You just use your email address and the password, which I believe you received in an email, and you can actually start messing around with this. You have free flow upon it. Now, I can see that some people have got their hands up. Let me just make sure that I can answer the questions. So I'm going to answer questions for a couple of minutes. So is it possible to have more than one source of data in one report? Yes, it is, completely. We'll actually cover that in a future webinar, but you can have more than one source of data. All you need to do is choose multiple data sources. If you're going to create a Necto model, then you can put multiple data sources in there. If you're going to create an OLAP model, an OLAP database, then you can obviously have multiple data sources in there as well. But like I said, it's something we will talk about in a future webinar, probably next week, I believe. Can Necto do an if-else formula? We can do an if-else formula in different ways, but again, we'll get into more technical areas in future webinars. I can't cover that here because it's something pretty technical. Okay. Now I hope everyone was able to hear me, and I appreciate everyone coming in. Thank you very much, and we'll send any feedback you have. Okay, thanks a lot. Bye-bye.